Well, we have gotten rid of the heat, that's for sure. Big front moved through with big, generous rains. It was welcome in the Ozarks, helped to boost our totals quite a bit. And of course, it feels like fall out there. The question is, will it remain that way? We're coming up on the weekend, and it may not be entirely dry in the Ozarks. And it looks like the cool weather will be replaced by warmer trends once again as we head into early next week. Also, we finished the month of May. Take a look back at that very warm month as well. Cooler afternoon in the Ozarks. We just at noon here cleared 60 degrees across much of the area. Barely. 61 in Springfield, also up around the Fort Leonard Wood area. 65 in West Plains. Pomona is actually where that recording site is. That's the warmest reading. Meanwhile, Camdenton's only 59 degrees. And as part of a cooler pattern of areas, you can see we zoom out here. We have a lot of 60s and 50s on the map, and the really warm stuff has been pushed well away by the latest front to move through the area. And that front has really given us quite of a wind shift here. We got northwesterly winds coming in behind that. The blue lines on there are the isobars, so we have a big area of high pressure centered up where the winds are light there over around the Wichita-Emporia area. And that's going to dominate our weather for the next couple of days here. We'll get on the warm side of that here before too long. Let's turn on our satellite here and see what's going on and put that into motion. We got cloud cover in the area today, and a little weak upper level disturbance and some unstable air, but it looks off to the west as if it's a little more organized. The cloud's a little more bubbly there, and indeed that is the case. Turn on the radar. We got some sprinkles and some showers moving rapidly through parts of Kansas, and some of that will survive into the Ozarks by later on this afternoon, early this evening. It doesn't look like it'll be nearly as heavy as the rains. Of course, we just finished in the area, certainly. But it'll just be a little bit of a nuisance if you're going outside this evening. And as you can see, widely scattered, not everywhere in the Ozarks, certainly. And finally, zooming out a little bit more, that's that one disturbance. And it looks like that rain is not the main rain. There is another one coming in that'll give us kind of a half-dry, half-wet weekend, I think, in the Ozarks. So what are the temperatures going to do? Well, as you already know, cool mornings. In fact, tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, could have a couple of upper 40s here and there. Depends on the cloud cover, and but certainly below normal in the 50s. And a much different start to Saturday than a week ago when we were ready to start that record high temperature run. I'll show you that here in a minute. But it will be rebounding pretty quick this weekend, heating up. We'll be close to 80 already on Saturday, into the 80s on Sunday, 80s next week for the most part. Backing off a little, you can see the temperature sliding down just a little bit around Wednesday, Thursday. There's a front that'll be interacting with the Ozarks, but you know how cool that will make it, and whether it will be able to deliver rain showers is another matter. Too far out to really be able to tell with that kind of detail. But it looks like a pretty good batch of rain on Sunday. Now this is for Springfield, about 4/10 of an inch, but I think it'll be heavier to the north. Show you that here in a second. And then there's that stair step of accumulation beginning on Wednesday. One model in particular, latest run, very energetic about that. Other ones not so much so, but it does look as if there might be some shower and thunderstorm activity in the middle of next week, but it's too early to be able to be very specific about that. Here's the rain projection essentially for Sunday afternoon. It looks pretty good. In fact, well over an inch is forecast by the Hydrological Prediction Center to the northwest of Springfield from around the Truman and Reservoir Lake of the Ozarks area right through Stockton Lake. 1.25-inch bullseye there, and Springfield caught up in a pretty good rain. Certainly that seems to be going north of the area. Wish we could shift that into northern Arkansas and southern Missouri where it's been a little drier, but that's the I think that is the cards that will be dealt to us basically. Here is the May precipitation total for Springfield. Last hurrah there, the last day of the month, 1.63. That was a wet day, certainly. But it still managed to keep us below normal. And here's the total precipitation on the left, departure from normal on the right. Everything on the right is basically in the orange shades. It had to be green for it to be above normal, so it was below normal everywhere in the Ozarks, much more so in northern Arkansas. And the rain total was certainly in a bullseye there on the left from Springfield to Joplin, basically. Pretty good little batch of rain occurred in that area as well. So here's the temperature plot for the month of May, and several very warm spurts are obvious well into the 80s, and then of course the Memorial Day weekend was just crazy. Record highs 93, 91, and 90 there. Wow, and like I said, complete drop-off in temperature you see on the right there, going from 90 several days ago to a high yesterday of only 72 degrees, and highs today probably only in the 60s. So temperature average was about 69.6 for May. That's 4.8 degrees above normal. And many, many months over the last 12, the majority, more than 3/4 of them have been above normal, by the way. And even though we had that last day of precipitation, 3.44 was our total, still came up about 1.5 inches shy. And the temperatures for early June still look warm, central United States. This is basically Wednesday of next week through the weekend, still forecast to be much above normal.